Well, hi there. Welcome to THJ Art. This is the very first live that I have ever done here in my studio, and so I'm pretty excited about it. And I so thankful for all my followers here on YouTube, and you can also find me on TikTok at THJ_art, and I'm also on Instagram as well. Same title there, and but I just figured I would do something different as opposed to my quick video saw that um, my dad and I use, my brothers, on various things over the years, and obviously replaced the saw, and um, now I'm painting on it to turn it into a nice little painting here. And I've done these before. Actually, one of my very first videos that I ever did, one of the shorts that I did, was another saw that was on a circular saw. This is actually on a metal cutting saw. Actually, not metal cutting. I'm sorry. This was used on a oh boy, why am I a concrete cutting saw? And so that was what we used it for originally. And so so yeah, thought I would make a nice little painting here on it. And the very first painting I did actually, and I posted, it was kind of took off. And so I said, you know what, maybe I'll go back to my roots with this first one. And so we're gonna see about it. So. Um, Today I'm going to paint with some nice acrylic paints, and as you can tell, I'm really fancy here with a lot of uh, my equipment. I do have a lot of times I'll do oils as well, and so as you can tell, I have Bob there overlooking me, but he always painted with oils, but I'm going to do some acrylics today just because they dry a little bit quicker, and because I like to do quicker paintings as opposed to oils, and quicker drying paintings, I should say. But and because they're acrylic, and I don't really like washing acrylic as much, what I do is I use nice little fancy schmancy paper plates here, and I just got some brushes that I don't particularly care about. That I get at, like, Dollar General or one of the dollar stores or whatever. But so what I have on my little palette here is I have some nice dark blue, like a phthalo type blue, some titanium white. I got some Van Dyke brown, sap green, and then a little bit of red. And we'll see what we do with that. So I'm gonna go into my blue here. And when you're painting with acrylics, especially when you're going to do the kind of scene that I'm going to do, you want to have a lot of white. And so I'm going to start with a lot of white mixed in with that. And I'm just going to start at the top and see where this goes. I think we're going to do a little snowy painting here. And so I'm just going to apply it. Nice little snowy painting. And always when you're going to paint, just for those of you who are tuning into this and maybe check this out later, and maybe you're learning to paint yourself, always start from the back of the painting, the farthest distance, and work your way to the front. Really hard to work your way back. And so just a friendly user tip. And we're just going to keep on rolling here. But not sure if this thing's going to hold up as much, but we'll see. I might have to go get a clamp or something to keep that down. I don't want that falling down. I'm only wearing sandals. But yeah, I thought, you know what, maybe some people would tune to this, maybe not. I'm not even sure. I am not a professional YouTuber or anything along those lines. I do it in my free time and do it as time allows. I'm a dad, and I work full time. I actually work 2 jobs, as a matter of fact. And without getting too personal, but and so I try to paint as much as I can, but time doesn't allow me to do that as much. but that's okay. We paint, but any day, like Bob Ross would always say, any day that we paint is a good day. I would really highly recommend that you pick up painting if you're looking for a really nice, relaxing hobby. I have kind of a stressful job, and so painting really helps me to relax, and that's part of the reason why I do it. I actually have had the opportunity to teach some painting classes, actually, as of late. Once in a while, I will do a painting class in my local area where I'm located, and teach people the joy of painting as much as I can. A little bit about me and the background and how I got into painting, actually. I've always been kind of an artsy person, but I used to love to draw when I was a kid. My brothers and I would make up our own comic books. We used to love comic books and Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and Iron Man and all that. And so we'd make up our own and we'd draw them. But I didn't really, so I've always had kind of an artsy streak in me. I love art. I love to paint. I love to draw, but I never really got into painting, really, until much later. Until one day, I was beginning to date who would become my wife, and I visited her parents for the first time. And I went into their home, and hanging on the walls were these beautiful, beautiful, like Bob Ross style paintings. And I talked with who would become my father-in-law at that time, and found out that they were his and a bunch of his relatives. And so I said, well, you know what I'm going to do in order to impress him and maybe impress my girlfriend is I'm going to pick up painting. And I'm going to paint and paint a nice painting that will impress them. And so I tried it a few times and didn't know what I was doing because it is a skill. And had no luck, but of course this was years ago, and this was before his Renaissance, Bob Ross's Renaissance, and so I thought to myself, who was the guy that used to be on TV? I want to learn to paint. Who was the guy that was on TV when I was a kid with the afro? And so I looked him up, and of course it was Bob Ross. And so I would click on his videos, and of course Bob Ross has had a major renaissance in the last few years, as I mentioned. Apologize for that noise. My little studio here is in the basement, and so you can hear a lot of our pipage and that kind of thing. So, so if you hear water running, that's what that is. But, so, I watched a Bob Ross video and painted a beautiful painting, and it did indeed impress her, and impressed my father-in-law. Must have, because he let me marry her. So that was kind of cool. So painting kind of is kind of near and dear to me in many ways. And so what we have here, though, just explaining what I have, is I don't think we have too many people watching, but that's okay. Maybe you'll watch this later and maybe get inspired. Again, I want to paint a nice snowy painting, so I'm working my way from the back to the front. And so this is going to be our sky, of course, and this is going to be kind of the area where the snow is. And so I'm just going to start adding a really nice snowy day. A little darker clouds in the back here. A nice, kind of faint. You know how we don't really want anything too crazy. painting on metal is a little bit interesting. Maybe one of these days I'll do when I do another live, I will paint on an actual canvas, but you'll probably hear my dog upstairs too. That's okay. But painting on metal is a little bit different, but still, I kind of really appreciate it. It's especially when you're painting with acrylic. You probably could not do, I mean, maybe you painters out there a little bit better than me, you could probably do oil on this. Somebody smarter than me and better than me could do it. But funny note about Bob Ross is that he would paint paintings while he was up in Alaska on different venues, not just canvases. I believe he would paint them on card tables and saws, kind of like what I'm doing here. And that's kind of how he got his start. So kind of working our way back over here. I'm actually going to, one thing about snowy paintings is, and this is just in general, but if you're painting with acrylic, especially with snowy paintings, you're going to go through a lot of white. A lot of white. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to have to get some more white here in a minute, but we're going to mix a little bit of that Van Dyke, and I'm going to start adding a little bit of background here. What do you say? We're going to add a little, just kind of take the edge of the brush here, and I'm going to set that down so that I can kind of hold this so that it doesn't. We're going to just start adding some nice background trees here. Just taking the edge of the brush. I'm just using the one brush, which is kind of cool. Especially when I'm painting with acrylic, but even when I'm painting with oils, I try to use the least amount of brushes as possible, mostly because I'm lazy. And I really don't feel like washing the brush. Bob Ross loved to wash the brush. If you ever watch a Bob Ross, I would highly recommend you do that. If you have never watched Bob Ross, you should at least try once in your life to watch a Bob Ross painting. Bob Ross is the master. Interestingly, though, about Bob Ross is that he learned from a guy who you can also find on YouTube by the name of Bill Alexander. And I have followed along Bill before, and I will say this, and I hope that this isn't too sacrilege to you Bob Ross purists out there, but I do believe that Bill Alexander was the better painter. He really was the better painter. And the difference between Bob Ross, though, and Bill Alexander is that Bill Alexander had a really heavy, I think he was Italian, but Italian accent, which made him a lot harder to understand. And so and he's a great painter and a great teacher, but unless you really could pull off that really thick Italian accent and really understand it, he was a little hard to follow, so to speak. I do need more white, so I'm going to add a little bit more. I use a combination of different kinds of paints. And Newton, but I also use Artist Loft. You can find that at Michael's or at Hobby Lobby. See my smiling face here. Just stuck my face right there in the painting. That's okay. But I needed to wipe my hands. Not afraid for you guys to see my face, by the way. Just we're here to paint. It's not about me. So we're gonna do a nice painting. And what we're gonna do, I think, still building up that nice painting there. We're gonna add just a touch of green to that. Touch of that sap green, I think. And a touch of that Van Dyke. Have more of a darker color because I kind of want just a tad darker, a little bit darker than that. And we're going to add some like bushy stuff, I think, going up through here. Kind of background here, nothing too crazy, but some darker just to push that back. In the background, you can hear that nice little jingle jangle there. I think what we're gonna do is I am gonna grab a different brush, I think. Let's see what I got over here. Sorry to get in the way of the camera, folks. But we are going to use, put in our first happy little tree here. Now, Bob Ross, he was a big fan of deciduous, or excuse me, evergreen trees, but I like deciduous trees. So I'm going to add a nice, well, let's just go, I think it's deciduous, right? Those trees that are not green all year. And a nice tree right there. We might have to come back to that and wait till it dries a little bit. Good part about acrylic is that it dries really quick. But one of the things that I might have to grab a different brush here too. But you can kind of see it. Add a bunch of branches to our trees here. Make sure that they're connected. You got to make those noises like Bob Ross says in order for it to really matter. But yeah, I like painting, I'm going to call them deciduous. I don't know what the other one is. If you watch this later and I'm wrong on that, make sure you leave it in the comments. What kind of trees these are. The trees that lose their leaves before winter. That's what I'm after. But I like those kind of trees because you can really see the squiggle of your work when it comes to, probably hear my dog upstairs going crazy, but you can really hear you can probably hear my dog. See your work as you're going with that nice little tree there. But, so then we'll take that, and then what we got to do is take a little bit more white. Take a little white, and we'll just, yeah, there we go. Push that all back just like that, right? There we go. Make it nice. Really push that tree right there. Then what we got to do is, I might get a different brush, I think. Let's see what we got. Let's just use this nice fan brush here. Use a nice fan brush. And I'm going to kind of dip into some of that green and brown. Kind of make up a nice little earthy color here. And maybe just touch of blue. Yeah, not too much. We don't want that blue eating it all up, but we do want kind of a... But that's what we're going to do, is we're going to put in Nice little, I think, like bushy area. Kind of like that. We'll add a little bushy area over here too. Why not? Around the happy trees. But I kind of like that. And I kind of like going up there like that. And we'll put that in, and then we'll go back to our original brush. You know, I just said that I don't like a lot of brushes, but you know what? That's okay. Probably will take this one and speed it up and turn it into a short, but I usually only do exclusive shorts, but that's okay. We're just messing around today. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back. Yeah, you know what? I might grab a different brush. What the heck? I'm in it now. I literally have tons of brushes. If you all still can hear me. I have a ton of brushes. Got a really noisy dog who does not want to be quiet. He must know that I'm online. That's okay. But this is where your bravery test is. That's what Bob Ross calls the bravery test. We're going to add a nice big old tree right here in the middle, because every tree needs a friend. And I am going to need more brown. Boy, oh boy, my children and my dog and everybody just do not want to be quiet upstairs. But that's okay. I'd rather have a loud house than a quiet one. Loud house is happy house. And means that you got a lot of people that love you. Means that I think I'm gonna get a little bit of black here too. Yeah, loud house. It's not always a bad thing. So, you know, if you're a parent and you're kind of complaining about your house being so loud, your kids are running all over the place, and you're like, oh boy, wish that they would be quiet. You know, don't do that. Don't wish that time away. Goes by so quick. But they always used to say that. Time goes by so quick to me, and I didn't believe it until I started having kids, and all of a sudden my oldest is 10 years old. Seemed like yesterday. I was just holding her in my arms. I miss those days. Because you blink and you realize how quick they go. So treasure them. Treasure every minute, parents. I actually have 3 kids. My oldest, as I said, is 10, and she is the light of my life. I then have a boy who is 7, and boy, oh boy, boys and girls are so different. I know that there's a lot of people who tell you that different today, that they're all the same, that there's no difference, but there really is. My oh my. I don't want to get political or anything, or it's not any kind of statement. Just truth. Boys and girls are very different. And I'm glad for that. Because every man really should, at one time or another, I'll just say this, and I know that not everybody's blessed the same way. I don't want to be, but having little girls just melts your heart, especially you come from the background that I come from. Grew up in a predominantly male house. I got 3 brothers. I'm the oldest. So having little girls in the home was a big adjustment for me. But having a little boy is amazing as well. Again, he's so different, so creative, and just, I think the one thing that I love about kids just in general is the fact that just how much they just want to be with you. And what a blessing that is. Having them, when you come through the door, scream, "Daddy." Boy, oh boy, if that doesn't do something for you. So, long story short, if you don't have any kids, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. But we're just moving right along here on our painting, right? Nice bravery test, cover up all that. And do like these kind of trees. I really do. It's one thing too is just nature in general is just so beautiful, and I think that's another thing that painting has helped me to really appreciate, is looking out at nature and creation and really appreciating it a lot more. Appreciating how everything kind of comes together, and just the complexity of it and yet the simplicity at the same time. It's amazing to me. So again, even if you don't paint, I would highly recommend sitting out one day and just taking a look outside, really taking it all in wherever you're at. I mean, I live in a more rural area, but so creation is all around, and trees and a little fox in the backyard. Just this morning, he was eyeing up my chickens, and I wasn't too happy about that. But I got those chickens in pretty good, so I don't think he's gonna get them. Hopefully not. We shall see. I got nice cameras on them. Yeah, just a little bit of more detail to those, that tree back there, darker in spots. Yeah, I like that. I did a very similar painting to this. I did a similar painting on one like this. Not, well, maybe, I mean, I said not too long ago. But boy, oh boy, that's probably going on, boy, 2 years now. I'm gonna add a nice fence here. What do you say? All these fences, they don't all have to be straight. A little wind-driven, crooked. add that as we go. Add that over here. Nice little fence, like almost like the farmer made it out of sticks to keep the wild animals out of his barn. It's like we're standing in his barn looking out in the back. And his barn is, maybe near his barn is over here where we're at. And one of these days I'll paint a barn. I've done that. I had one friend of mine who, he knows I paint, and actually the president of a college, and but he grew up on a farm, and he really wanted for his office a barn. So paint me a barn. So I did. And so it hangs in that college. Now, for our fence line here, I could do it a couple different ways, but I think what I'm going to do is this is probably the one Bob Ross item that I'm going to use, which is a nice little Bob Ross painting knife. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch it on the edge there, just on the black. No, I didn't tell you that I got black, but I added some black while you weren't looking. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that nice little touch going across here. So that kind of see where that is. Yeah, just a little barbed wire. Maybe it's electrified. I don't know. Maybe he's got a nice cow living on over there somewhere. A little bit more. My dog just will not be quiet, really. I got a tiny little dog. I grew up with German Shepherds, and my grandfather, he actually raised a really weird breed of dog. You may have heard of Chinese Shar-Peis. That sounds weird, but they're kind of like wrinkly. They're like a walking accordion. That's what they are. I like to call them walking accordions. They're a real nice dog. Very territorial. Boy, oh boy. If you were not a part of the clique, boy, oh boy, those dogs did not like you, and they would let you know it. One thing that I neglected to do here, and one thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to go back to our original brush, and I'm going to go back and dip into our original white color, and I'm just going to, again, I told you at the beginning to work from the backwards to the front, and this is why. This is a good example. So, you want to make sure that, there we go, just add a little bit more. I think we did a fine job here. We're almost done, as a matter of fact. And I think, though, what I want to do is, man, oh man, my dog will not be quiet, will he? Probably would have a few choice words for my dog if I was not on now. But I'm going to mix up a little bit more of that green color mix with a little bit more blue. And we're going to put a nice, I don't know, like I said, a little earthy color. But I'm going to add a nice little, because, you know, little brushy stuff kind of grows up in here. It's kind of what we want. A little bit growing up in here. And I would say we're darn near close to a finished painting. I want to just add a few other things. I'm going to duck in front of the camera there for a moment. Apologize. Wipe that off. I am also going to wipe this off a little bit, but I'm going to add a few more little details here, I think, with the white, because, you know, obviously this is a snowy painting, so you want to add some nice snow in the where you think that snow would land, right, and stay. Take a look at trees, and Usually they end up like where the two branches or whatever come together, and it's a good place to put some nice snow. I might put a little bit on the tops over here, who knows. A little bit on the, who knows, I don't know. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe the snow is starting to come down a little bit. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, but I prefer to put in each snowflake. Some guys will take like a toothbrush and put the paint on it and flick it at the screen or at the canvas or whatever. I've tried it. It works. It's a fine way, but I don't know. Call me whatever. I find this a lot more fun. Put each snowflake in. And again, I don't know if anybody's watching this right now. It is YouTube, but I mean, this is the first time I've done a live. Don't know if I'll do one again. We'll see. Maybe I will. I'm not a quitter. It's one thing about painting is you don't ever quit. When I paint your first painting, you might be, oh man, this is a stinker. There's a stinker painting. Boy. Don't give up. Pick up the brush again. Watch another Bob Ross painting. Follow him along, I'll tell you. I didn't really do a good job of explaining what I was doing here, probably during it. Maybe I'll do more of an instructional video later on, but one thing is never ever give up. It is so relaxing. I would really highly recommend it. So I think that we're going to call this painting done. And but you can't finish a painting without a little bit of red. And I like to add my little signature here, of course, in the style of Bob Ross. And put it down here. I think probably right down here at the bottom. I always add a T. My name begins with a T. H. And a J. And that's where I get the name of my art. My name is Tim, and my middle initial is H, and I'm a junior, so that's where it comes from, THJ Art. And so thank you all so much for joining me for my very first live session here as we painted a nice snowy painting, acrylic, on a nice saw blade. And again, I just want to say this, is that every one of my paintings, I don't normally sell them or anything like that, but if you are interested in one, I'll work with you on if you'd like to purchase one, or if you'd like to if you'd maybe like me to commission one for you, I like I did for my buddy with the barn. Take a look through some of my other videos, and you can choose one, and I'd be more than willing to, maybe paint you up one. Maybe depending on your situation, you might get it for free. Who knows? But again, this has been THJ Art, very first live session. And so again, thank you all so much for your subscriptions. I really am so thankful for all my followers. I got a little over 500. I would love to see that increase. This is definitely a passion of mine. So if you don't mind, leave a comment or give me a like or subscribe if you're coming across this, and that would really help out my channel. And again, just thank you so much for joining me. Happy painting, and God bless, my friends. Bye now.